All right, everybody. So today's video will seem a little bit out of place with the others that I'm going to file it with because this is going to go in the lesson that has questions about sequences, okay? Where a sequence is a list of numbers with perhaps some kind of pattern to it. This question is about compound interest, investing money, the money earning interest, and so on. And that doesn't sound like, it's not going to sound like the same thing. But really, if you invest a certain amount of money and it earns interest periodically, like every quarter or every month or something like that, then it is just a list of numbers by some pattern, right? You start with the money, it earns a little interest. Now you have a little bit more money, but that pattern continues, say, 1 quarter at a time or 1 month at a time, and so on. All right, now in this question or this example, I'm going to show you. Uh, I'll show you how to figure it all out, but I'm also going to just tell you the formula. It's like I always do that. So I shouldn't encourage this, but if you're just like, I don't care how this works, just tell me the formula, then yes, you can. It's a video. You can fast forward it or skip it to the point where the formula is revealed, and then you'll see how to work the problem. But I think, given that a mortgage works a lot like how I'm going to show you 1 month at a time, I think this is something that people should know about. If you're learning some math, this is something that you should learn and know about, in my opinion. So here goes. So say that you're presented with a scenario like this. You invest $5,500, and it's given that you earn interest at 10% annually. Okay, so initially we might read that as like, well, so every year you get 10% of this. Okay, but we're going to compound the interest quarterly, which means every 1/4 of a year, that's a quarter of a year, we're going to earn interest on this and throw that back into the account. Okay, and we'll repeat that process the next quarter. Okay, so like we take our initial investment, at the end of the quarter we earn interest according to 10% per quarter, and then we add that back in, and then it's a little bit more, and then we repeat that the next time, and then it's even more, and the amount grows each quarter. And if you're going to earn interest based on that amount every single additional quarter, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, so here's how it would work. I thought I would show you with a little table where we start with $5,500. And when it says we're going to compound quarterly at 10% annual interest, compound interest is based on simple interest. You probably heard or come across the formula at some point. Interest equals principal times rate times time. That's simple interest. Well, compound interest is based on that. The interest that's compounded is based on simple interest. So what it means is, okay, we start with $5,500. At the end of the first quarter, we'll take that and then we'll calculate 1/4 of a year of interest of that, right? Because if interest is principal times rate times time, then I'll take the $5,500 that was sitting in the account, and then I'll calculate my interest based on that. Principal, okay, $5,500. Rate, it said 10%, so that's that number. Time, how much time? Well, we're doing this every quarter. What's a quarter? Well, it's 1/4 of a year. There you go. So then that's the amount in the account at the end of the first quarter. Okay, the amount you started with plus a quarter's worth of interest based on that amount. And then what's this equal to? Some bigger number. And then we'll use that number and we'll repeat the next quarter. So that's basically that's how compound interest works. Okay. All right. So let's look at a little more detailed look in order to build up to doing the example in MyMathLab. And then after I look at the more detailed chart here, then I'll tell you what the formula is, and then you'll know. Okay. But like I said, I think, if you're taking math as a college age student, that you should understand compound interest. So here's the more detailed look. So we start with 5,500. At the end of the first quarter, as I told you on the last page, we take the amount we started with and we add 1/4 of a year of interest. That's this. If I do a little simplifying, here's how my numbers work out. Okay, 1/4 times 0.1, that's 0.025. And if I factor out the 5,500, there's some algebra in here. I'm manipulating the formula, but I get that. Okay, that turned out to be 5,637.50. Yeah, it's a little bigger because we earned 1/4 of a year of interest. Now, what would we do at the end of the next quarter? Well, we would just have to repeat this. We take what we had at the end of the first quarter. Okay, that's this. And then we add a quarter's worth of interest on that. What do you see here? You see that part right there? Well, here's what we started with at the end of the last quarter. And here's simple interest again. Principal, that's this rate time. And we just repeat that. Take that amount of money and then add another quarter's worth of interest based on that. So that's the magic of compound interest, is that the amount of money is growing in the account. So the interest that's being calculated each period is based on a growing amount of money. Okay? All right, so yes, I'm using that larger amount of money that I had at the end of the first quarter to calculate the next quarter of interest. All right, now here I do lots of calculations in algebra. 0.1 times 1/4, that's factor out the 5,500, factor out the 1.025, right? Factoring. This is all just algebra, even though it looks complicated. But I'll get to that. And then I kind of see a pattern, okay? You see a pattern. I see like 5,500, 1.025 first power for quarter one, 5,500, 1.025 second power for quarter two. And if I went through that whole mess again for the next one, I would get 5,500, 1.025 third power for quarter three. Okay, so there's a pattern to it. All right. Now, I would just have to show you that that's the way that we reduce the algebra. And if you're like, oh, that's just too much, then I showed you there's a pattern for the formula too. So let's do that part. Now that I've showed you that, this is how compound interest works. This is what it looks like one period at a time. In our case, 1/4 at a time. We'll focus on the question. Okay. So here's the way that you might encounter the question on the assignment. It'll say that you invest a certain amount of money, let's say $5,500. You earn interest at some annual rate, say 10% annually, and you compound by some frequency, monthly, quarterly, whatever. Let's say quarterly. So 2 questions to answer. What is the formula for the amount of money at the end of quarter N? Okay, is there a formula that would just calculate that? Because as you can tell, if I actually had to do this 1/4 at a time without some formula, it's a lot of work. All right, but I found a pattern to it, so it's okay. Okay, so first, let's give that formula. And second, well, once you have that formula, at the end of 38 quarters, what's the value in the account? Well, so here's the formula. The amount in the account A is equal to P, the starting investment, times 1 plus R, the annual interest rate, over K, which is how many times you compound per year. Like quarterly, that would be 4 times per year. Okay. And N is the quarter that you're interested in. So if you want to know, well, 38 quarters in the future, well, you put 38 for N. Okay. So here's my formula. All right, here's the answer. A. So what was that starting amount? 5,500. 1 plus, and then R was the annual interest rate. That's 10%. So we put 0.1 for 10%. And K, okay, how many times a year are we going to compound? Quarterly, that'd be 4 times a year. By contrast, if it said compound monthly, that would be 12 times per year. Okay. And then what else in is just the quarter that you're interested in. Okay, so it's going to be like that. So well, there's our formula. That's it. That's the formula. Now, I think we should do a little simplifying. Like I can take 1 plus 0.01 over 4. I can calculate that number. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I can simplify it. And if I can simplify something, then I will. And that number is going to be 1.025. There you go. Okay, so there's your formula to calculate the future amount on quarter in, where quarter in is at some time in the future. When we looked at it 1/4 time, probably made it look complicated, but as with a lot of things in math, there's a pattern and ultimately a formula to help us out. There it is. Okay, so having this, it should make this part easy, okay? I mean, the whole job of this formula is you tell me which quarter you want to figure the amount for, you just put it in there. Like, so at the end of 38 quarters, that's that number right there. So this should be easy. So 5,500, 1.025, and then that needs to be 38 if that's what you're interested in. Okay. And so that's going to be, if say we use our calculator, we'll find that we have $14,056, and because it's money, we'll probably round to the nearest penny. But just if there's rounding instructions with the question, do what the instructions say. But I'll round this to the nearest penny, and that's going to be 25 cents. Okay, so that's what we'll have throughout this whole process of what's compound interest. You have some amount of money. It earns interest for that period. And now it's a little bigger. But then that bigger amount earns interest. And it gets even bigger. And then that process repeats. Well, 38 quarters down the road, what we started with, $5,500, will grow quite a bit. Grows a lot. That's the magic of compound interest. As the amount in the account grows, the interest is calculated on a progressively larger amount, and so the interest gets larger, and compound interest can grow very fast over time.